Welcome to Dutchess and Her Dukes, a podcast where I speak to New York City hustlers in pursuit of their dreams. I'm Dutchess, and these are my Dukes. Hi, Paolo.
Hey, happy to be here.
Thank you. Could you please introduce yourself and tell me why you're here?
I'm really bad at introductions. Yeah, my name's Paolo. I grew up in the city, Italian, American, Italian, French. And I wrote a book that came out a couple months ago.
On the king of video poker, a best book of the decade. Why are you a writer? Let's just jump straight
in.
This.
It's a good question. Yeah, you would think I would have a good answer by now because I get asked that a lot. I don't know. It's kind of just something that I've always gravitated towards. I always really loved reading since I was like little, and when I stumbled upon Less Than Zero when I was like 13, 14, 15, however old I was like, oh, I want to do this. And I don't really know why, what caused that. It's just it felt like a strange burst of finding your purpose, almost, as cheesy as that sounds.
No, that's very, that resonates. My friend I reference a lot, shout out to Coco Mellers. She said once that a lot of people who become writers didn't have the happiest of childhoods. Do you agree with that statement?
Probably, but for all intents and purposes, my childhood was kind of happy. It was kind of a good one. Yeah, it was kind of a good one. Yeah, I don't know what went wrong.
I think the reason is because, you escape into this fictional world in stories. That was very much true for me. Thank God I wasn't a drug addict at 13. I would just smoke weed or smoke cigarettes and read.
Yeah, yeah, and maybe read about drug addicts.
Yeah, perfect.
But live vicariously through it, and you don't have to do it yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like an escape.
Yeah.
But you had a happy.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't escape. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe escapism. I think just growing up in the city, you grow up really fast. For better or for worse, and I was seeing a lot of shit probably at too young of an age.
Where did you grow up? Which part of?
On Mulberry Street.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
And what was the cross street?
I was on Mulberry, the center of Mulberry,
oh my God.
In the heart of it, So when that dude was belched Frank Sinatra at 8 a.m., that was waking me up when I was in high school,
That's so crazy.
Yeah. So.
Did you come to the San Gennaro?
I grew up in the I loved the San Gennaro Festival.
You did?
Yeah.
As a kid?
As a kid, I loved it. Yeah.
I
loved the smells of all the grease and the cannoli and all the fried and everything that now I'm oh, that's probably really bad for you, and you see it all just busted in the grease and the oil. And when I was a kid, I didn't think about that. I was oh, this is great, and it's so fun. Everyone's moving around, and there's the bustle, and it's just so lively.
Was it different back then? I mean, you're in your 30s, right?
Close to.
Oh, you're not 30 yet?
28.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's amazing. This is amazing, guys. He's 28 years old and he's got his first book published. So it must have been a little bit different. Now it's extremely expensive and gentrified. Was it more Italian people back in the day?
Yeah. And there's more. It was definitely
more than that, right.
I think Little Italy is really shrinking.
Yeah.
It used to be a lot more and maybe a little wilder. I feel it's gone a little tamer, perhaps. You still get characters, but that was always the fun part. I liked going and just people watching.
Yeah.
Yeah. And seeing just ridiculous people, people who are not, you could just tell are not New Yorkers, that are flocking to this area and just doing the craziest shit.
I wonder if we may know some people from the OGs from the neighborhood, the Italian OGs. This woman Gina, who was born in my building. Her grandparents came from Italy, bought the building, and they had a bakery there. And there's a few other people like that in the neighborhood still who are have been there for generations, but not that many.
Yeah.
Know them.
There's someone named Rosalie. I don't know if you know her.
Yeah.
She's like that. Anyone that the whole Lombardi crew, they're very old OG
Yeah.
You know, that neighborhood.
There's a guy named Richie, and every time I pass him, he's wearing like Knicks jersey, like winter, summer, no matter, and he's always like, "Did you watch the game?" Because he knows I like Knicks. It's just like that type of stuff. It's so nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I agree that people who grew up in New York City are like a different breed.
New Yorkers are just something else.
Yeah, and like you have to grow up fast because like it's so intense.
Yeah, I mean you're taking the subway at like whatever 8, 9, 10, however old you are, you know, and you're like just I don't know. You see a lot is just thrown right in, you know, into your face. And like the nightlife in New York is also crazy, and you know I have a lot of friends who like didn't go to a bar until they were 21, and I was like, what do you mean? I was going to bars at like 14.
Yeah,
you know,
me too.
Which is not a good thing. Like that should not have been the case, you know, but it just makes you like see a lot really early on, and I think that probably does something to your brain and then to like the media that you consume, you know. That's probably why I like Bryson Ellis resonated so much with me, because all his shit's about like, you know, young party kids just taking a bunch of drugs, and
for sure.
So I was like, oh, okay, this is normal. Like other people do this. Like this is not just like what, you know, the messed up group that I was like hanging around with.
Yeah, relatable to me also. Wait, so do you consider yourself more Italian or French? So your dad is French, right? And your mom is Italian.
No, my mom's actually Colombian. My dad is French Italian.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
What a mix.
Yeah. I'm quite a mutt. I don't know. I went to a French school, so I really feel like French in that sense. But then I grew up going to Italy, like every year. I have more family in Italy than in France. Like my grandparents were in Italy. Like, so it's like a really big competition between the two. Like they clash.
And do you speak Spanish too?
No. Yeah, my mom messed
just
up.
French and Italian.
Yeah. I can like understand and I can like get by a little, but no, I wish.
What's stronger for you, Italian or French?
Definitely French, because I like learned French grammar.
Because you went to school,
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Like I didn't even learn English grammar. Like I learned French grammar. So like French is probably my strongest.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And what made you decide to do an MFA? I kind of want to talk a little bit about MFA. There's a lot more interesting subjects we could discuss, but it is a controversial issue still, because like, do you really need that? And like, would you advise people to do it? Like, what was your experience like, and why did you choose Colombia?
Yeah. No, that's fair. I was asking myself those questions too, like before I applied. You know, I was like, do I need this? Should I do this? I think the main reason is I kind of wanted a couple of years like where I did nothing but write, you know, and like I worked while I was doing it, but like it really forces you, but it forces you to sit down, like, because you need to put in pages for workshop, like you have deadlines, you know, like just being surrounded by so many writers and phenomenal professors was something that I wanted.
Yeah.
And there were 3 professors in particular that I admired them as writers, and they were teaching at Columbia.
Who can you share?
Yeah. Binny Kirschenbaum is her name. She wrote Rabbits for Food, which is like one of the funniest, darkest books. Just such sardonic humor. Like you're laughing your ass off, and you're like, should I be laughing at this? You know, and like her timing and just like her like humor and like prose is really admirable. And then Richard Ford was a big one. The sports writer was a big one for me as a kid, and Sam Lipsyte. And so like just those names, I was like, I want to study under them, you know, like I want to like be mentored by them.
Were they equally good teachers?
They were.
Okay.
They were.
That's great.
Like above and beyond. Like I couldn't speak highly enough of them. Like they were, like the book would not be what it was if not for them. So for that, like I have 0 regrets, and I'm so glad that I did the MFA. I had an awesome experience. I was there during COVID at the end, so like that was kind of lame, but
same for me actually. When I was at Brooklyn College, same thing.
But that's just life, you know.
So you just had classes on Zoom.
I had classes on Zoom the second year.
Same actually, yeah. So when did you graduate? 2021.
21, I think. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And how about your peers? Did you make a lot of friends?
A couple. COVID had a big say on that, you know?
Yeah.
It was hard to make friends when you couldn't interact with people outside of like a little Zoom box. I made a couple that like first semester that I'm still good friends with today.
Nice.
I just went to one of their weddings on Friday.
Wow.
So
Mazel tov.
Yeah. But yeah, I think I got what I wanted out of the program. You know, I made a couple friends. I didn't need a million. Like good friends that we still read our writing today. You know.
Oh, that's awesome.
And awesome professors that I still like.
You're in touch
email with, you know, from time to time, and So I don't know. I think like it kind of depends what you want out of the program. You know, I mean, it's insanely expensive, so that's definitely something that you need to consider, and
it's absurd.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's really dumb.
Especially if you don't come from money, and I'm sure a lot of writers, like not everybody, it's
a lot
just
of
so crazy.
don't.
And then you have to work. Like I obviously Brooklyn College was a cheaper program, but it was quite competitive, and I still had to work, so it's not easy.
Yeah, no, it's not easy. So like. Yeah, you know, if you're okay with putting up with whatever that means in your life, you know, then I think it's worth it. But, you know, I know people who went to the program who, like, hated it and are really bitter.
Did they hate it because of, like, why did they hate it, do you think?
I think, to be honest with you, they went into it with the wrong reasons. There was a professor there who I don't want to name, but he had really bad advice. And I think he potentially brainwashed a couple of people.
Wow.
His advice was, so during like one of the first days, like there was like the orientation kind of thing or whatever, he gave like a talk, and he was telling people that if we showed up to this program to work on one book in particular, that we were there for the wrong reason, and that like he was saying like, we are not here to help you on your book. We're here to make you better writers, you know? And I was like, yeah, you are here to make us better writers, but also you shouldn't go to the program and waste your time and just fuck around and just write a bunch of short stories that are just like all over the place. You know, I think you should go into the program with a real sense of like, this is what I want to work on. I want to work on this manuscript or this short story collection or whatever, just like something. And you're not like kind of bouncing around from one thing to another and just like figuring out like, oh, do I want to write about this? Oh, maybe I want to write about that. Like, you should go into it like laser focus and like
that's amazing.
That's all you work on is the thing that you are 100% committed into. Like, this is my project for the next 2 years, you know.
Wow.
And this professor was like telling people not to do that, and he convinced some, and those people aren't published today, you know, and I am, and I just feel like no, but it was just because I knew that he was wrong, and I think that it's unfortunate that some people like believed him. And that's why they're not published. They should be published, and I think they will be very soon.
Yeah,
you know?
no, that's literally me.
Yeah.
I wanted to learn about the publishing business because I didn't understand how it works, and I had to like dissect it, like how does.
I still don't understand how it works.
I'm still not 100% sure, but I'm a lawyer by trade. I went to law school, and so
shit, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so I was like, I need to understand it, and the same thing with law. Like I didn't end up practicing. I only practiced for like less than a year, but I need to understand it. I'm like, when I like look in, I have to like get it. But I only had like short stories, and like my thesis was like a collection. But what I'm glad about is that it pushed me like the seed of my novel. Like it started as a short story and then it evolved to something else. But it probably if I had it prior, maybe my situation would have been different. Maybe
I mean, I don't know. I just think I think they frame it poorly. I think they should, like, on the website, be like, come with a manuscript do you want to work on, you know?
Such a good...
Because then people come out of it bitter, and they feel kind of screwed over, because it's so much money. It's such a financial commitment. It's a burden, really. Yeah. And so then you come out of it without a manuscript, unpublished, and you're like, why did I just do that? Why did I just waste 2 years, all that money, you know? And then they resent the program. And I think the program is awesome. It's a really awesome program. It just, when it's framed that way, it can be, I think, a bit misleading. Yeah,
I enjoyed it too, because I love reading and learning, and it helped me develop some sort of writing practice that's not existent in the last 2 weeks.
No, that's nothing. That's nothing.
I just can't. I literally can't. Like, I don't want to write. Like, I can barely journal these days, like the last 2 weeks.
A couple weeks is fine.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to, like, you know, put it down, come back with fresh eyes,
But yeah, it's definitely like helped. Like you have to do it or else. So I feel like that was helpful. But I didn't make that. I have one really good friend, and that's about it.
I think that's all you need. All you need is a couple. You know, 1, 2, 3. Like you don't need a bunch. You know, they can also be a distraction.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Takes you away from the actual writing, which is really what you need to do at the end of the day.
Yeah. Just one last point on that. Joshua Hankin, who's the director of the program, who's a great writer, great mentor, he gave us this challenge. We're supposed to write 18 hours a week at the very least. So before each workshop, he would collect like notes and see how many hours we wrote, like anonymously. And it's really hard to write 18 hours a week, actually, if you think about it. It's like 3 hours a day for 6 days a week. Like, if you're working. Yeah. It sounds like, oh, it's not such a big, it is a big deal. Yeah. So I think that was really helpful for me to just like, you got to like treat it like a workout or something.
Yeah, no, I had a professor, Binny, who said you have to treat it like a full-time job. Even if you already have a job, you know, like, it's a luxury to really just do nothing but write, you know, like. Some can, the lucky few that they are, but otherwise, most people are juggling another job. But you still need to find a way to treat it like it's a full-time job, you know? Yeah. And like she was saying, even if you're working at another job and you come back and like your friends hit you up and like, hey, like come to the bar. If you didn't put in your hours of writing that day, you should be like, no, sorry, I have work. Yeah. You know, like treat it like you can't. It's work. You have to do the work. You can't go to the, you know, bar and go out and be like, oh no, I'll do the writing later when I have time, because you won't have time. You have to make your time, you know? Yeah. I think treating it as a job is a good.
Yeah, and Josh always said like anything can count as writing, but like not hanging out with other writers. Yeah. That doesn't count as writing, and going to like literary events does not count as writing. Yeah. Do you ever go to literary events? Is this like something you do?
Sometimes. I didn't really at all much, like, at the beginning. I've started to more and more.
Recently?
Yeah.
Because you got a network.
Pretty much, yeah, to be honest with you. Like a couple months before this came out, I was like, fuck, okay, I got a network, I guess.
I hate that. Yeah. I was so happy to come to your book thing, because, like, I knew you, but I'm very intimidated by all these, like, buffoons.
Yeah, no, it's...
I'm, like, really intimidated.
And it's very sceney. It's very sceney. Yes. So, like, I definitely, like, I went to... a couple at like the KGB bar, and
I saw you were reading. I just didn't go because I was intimidated. I really wanted to come.
That's fine.
At least I have a friend.
I was intimidated too. The first couple times I went, and like Nico Walker was reading there years ago, and I was such a fan, and I was so intimidated, and then I kind of like stopped going. And then a couple months before my book was coming, I was like, okay, I guess I should go and do the networking and stuff. And I will say I've met really cool people since. Nice. So I'm glad that I kind of forced myself to, you know, push myself out of my comfort zone a little bit and do the networking, because it can be very uncomfortable. But yeah, I met like some really cool writers that.
That's great.
I do think it's also important to have like writer friends, you know, because you can like talk about shit that kind of. Sometimes it's hard to talk to someone else about it. Yeah,
my best friend, actually, she is a writer. She didn't do an MFA, but she's based out of LA. But yeah, thank God for Melissa, shout out. Okay, so let's talk about this book. You kind of answered the question that I had about whether the program helped you with the development of this novel. Clearly,
it did. Yeah.
But what was the process like? Like, what sparked the idea? I know it's such a fucking lame question, but
no, it's fair.
Like the themes that you touch upon are just so fire. Like that's the type of stuff that I'm interested in personally. Like, yeah. Anyway,
I think all right. I'm gonna you know ramble. So cut me off if I go too long. I think so. I've always been into like dark, fucked up literature. For whatever reason,
likewise.
Despite my very happy childhood, I don't know what went wrong, but always just really gravitate towards that shit.
Like fascination with this like underground darkness.
Like wanting to understand, you know, and so always been into that, you know, like I grew up in being super into like the beat, you know, generation writers, you know, read obviously Chuck Palahniuk, Hunter S. Thompson, William S. Burroughs,
very cool. You know, Naked Lunch. I love Naked Lunch. It's so druggy as well.
Naked Lunch, Junkie, Dennis Cooper, Gary Indiana, just like all these, everything that was so fucked up and dark, you know. So I was always into that shit. And then I always wrote stuff kind of like adjacent to those, you know, very like transgressive literature. And This one was kind of like the perfect storm of me always being into just dark subject matters. And then I was taking a Russian literature class in undergrad, reading Crime and Punishment. And
good book.
Yeah. And
what a great class to take.
oh yeah, it was awesome.
I studied
awesome.
Russian when I decided to study Russian just so I can read Master Margarita in original. Literally the only reason.
That's the one language I wish I spoke.
Can you read it?
No. I wish I could read, speak.
Oh, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I wish because my professor was Russian, and she was like, and she could tell how much I was loving it. I was like annotating every page. I was just like eating that book up, and she was like, if only you realize how much better this was in Russian.
Oh my God.
And I was like, yeah, well, thanks. Maybe one day I'll.
Can I interrupt you real quick? Because one of my favorite writers is Patrick Modiano, who is a French Jew. He actually got half Jew actually. He got a Nobel Prize in like 1990, I think. And he's very dark. You will like him, I think. Very dark. And really wanted to do like a PhD and like focus on Patrick Modiano. But I can't do it because I don't speak French. And I just don't have, no offense, like I don't feel like learning French.
No, I'm not taken.
But I feel like
it's a hard language.
And you have to, you have to read it in original if you want to go that deep.
Yeah, definitely.
So I get
yeah. Maybe one day I'll tackle that.
When we retire, I'll be learning French. You'll be learning Russian.
Yeah. But so it was just like I was reading Crime and Punishment, taking this Russian lit class, always into dark stuff, and then what the book is about, based on, I don't know if I still don't know to this day if I if I should give that away or not, because it's a bit of a reveal.
What would you want to say?
Like what the book is a fictionalized account of. It's a fictionalized account of a real thing that happened, and so the thing that happened was on the news on TV at my friend's place.
So random.
Yeah, and so it was just like the news was on, and the thing happened, and I was just like, I don't know, it's like all these pieces were kind of falling together, and I couldn't help but think like, what on earth makes somebody do what this person did, And there was no motive, and I was like, I need to understand, how someone could possibly do that. That seemed like the worst thing a human could do. Just like, you're not even a human, you're a monster. And the need to understand, and Crime and Punishment being about the study of the psyche and the human descent into madness. And then almost also philosophizing a murder and a crime. It was just like all these pieces were kind of
chills. It's such a great reference.
No, it's such a good book. And so that I was kind of like, oh, okay, a spark of an idea. And then the news also mentioned that he was a video poker player. And I was like, oh, video poker, that's a really interesting detail.
That is such an interesting detail, and I'm so dumb because I was like, oh, why video versus regular poker?
Because he's a misanthrope.
But
he doesn't like people, so he's doesn't have to deal with anyone. He's this lone wolf. He just goes to the casinos, goes to the machine, goes home, doesn't interact with people. So that detail just spoke to me. I was like, oh, video poker. It kind of just clicked.
Yeah.
And then I started sketching a character. I was just like, all right, who is this guy?
I love the detail, and I like the little things that makes this character the person that he is. Side note, he reminds me of corporate psychopaths, 1000%. Those guys who have probably they're on the spectrum and work for hedge funds.
Yeah.
That's kind of that vibe.
Yeah.
But speaking of detail, this is my little surprise.
Oh. That's amazing. That's amazing.
And also,
wow. I love it. We got a theme.
So listen, when I was reading it, I finished reading. When I'm really into a book, I can't put it down, and I would literally cook and go to the bathroom and I was taking a bath, eating Twinkies and drinking Coca-Cola because I had to get into this vibe. So this is, by the way,
that's amazing.
Disgusting.
Oh yeah.
It's it's so disgusting. Rick, would you like to try a Twinkie? Okay. It's
you're missing out.
I had to bring it, and we have to try it.
No, this is amazing. This is.
It's such a great character, amazing detail. That, and also Arnold Palmer, the drink.
Yeah, I know the drink.
I couldn't find it anywhere.
Couldn't find it?
I couldn't find they're not. It's not
they
as
have
popular.
A Duane Reade.
I didn't see it.
No.
than Duane Reade. But I also went to this restaurant, Ruby's, actually, and they had Arnold Palmer, and I ordered it just because I would have never ordered it if it wasn't for your book.
That's so funny. You know what's funny is that I didn't even know anything about Arnold Palmer, the golfer, before I started this book. I just knew about the drink. Thanks.
You have to.
I had too many of these when I was writing the book.
It's the weird.
I'm grossed out. Like, I'm gonna have a bite with you, but I don't know if I can have any more.
Yeah, no, me neither. I have to have a bite and then drink some Coke. Cheers.
Cheers. This is very fun.
I mean,
it's disgusting.
It's crazy. It tastes
so gross.
Like sponge.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like coffee cake and stuff like that, or from a bodega that's like really. Like tastes a little fake, but this is next level.
It just tastes like chemicals.
This is like, what is this? This is not even real cream.
No, definitely not.
Anyway, I'm good.
Do you want to hear about the genesis of this idea?
Yes, please.
Why I put the Twinkies in?
I'm gonna drink some Coca-Cola, which I normally don't drink.
I don't either, but you know what? Fuck it.
We have to. I was like, this is gonna be the funnest thing.
Cheers.
Cheers.
It's a very fun idea.
I mean, it makes him so vivid, like him doing. Like drinking and then like waking up and not drinking water, but like getting Coke. Just
yeah. I was like, he doesn't drink water. He drinks.
Yeah,
Coke.
That's what I kept thinking. He doesn't drink water. He just drinks Coca-Cola.
Because he's a psycho. So
and he's so American.
Yeah. Yeah. But the Twinkies was honestly because of. Did you ever hear about the Twinkie defense?
No.
It's this guy. The Harvey Milk. Do you remember about like that stuff? It was like the murder, whatever. It was this whole thing, and the lawyers in the defense like used Twinkies as like the excuse. They were like, "Oh, he was eating too many Twinkies during the time, so he had a chemical imbalance that was due to the Twinkies. It's not his fault."
Shut the fuck up.
And it was called the Twinkie defense, and it was.
Was that actually considered legit? They
didn't do shit, but they tried. Yeah, they legitimately tried to.
Just like with Didi, you heard that like he was just ordering like a box of
baby oil. Yeah.
Costco.
Yeah, I didn't hear the reason. What was the like for shits and gigs? What were they? Why did they say he was? What was their cover up for that?
Just like I don't know, moisturize.
Oh, like it was like.
But they were like, why does he have so many in his house? Yeah. Like just to buy in bulk, like all Americans.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he buys all the guns in bulk, and he's like, you got to buy in bulk. You know, it's cheaper to buy in bulk. Like chicken, it's such an American thing. But I thought the Twinkie defense was really interesting when I like heard about it, read about that, found out about that, and so I was like, oh, I'm gonna put that in as just like, it also just feels very Americana, but also so like on theme, but also I wanted that to be my very facetious response to if anyone ever asked me like, so why did he do it? You know, why does he actually commit the crime at the end? And I was like, oh, because of the Twinkies. You know, that was sort of going to be my very like
that's phenomenal
facetious response.
That's phenomenal.
It's just so silly, you know. It's such a, but feels very American somehow.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like, when I was reading it, I couldn't, maybe because I knew you were French, or partially French, but I kept thinking about Jean Baudrillard. I don't know if you ever read America. Mm-hmm. And there's like different chapters, of course, like there's New York and Los Angeles, and there is a chapter Las Vegas too. And I hope I'm not revealing too much that like action takes place primarily in Las Vegas, like Nevada. But like, yeah, I was curious also if you ever read Jean Baudrillard and or why you were so like into Las Vegas, because I think Las Vegas is fascinating.
Yeah,
it's like the craziest place on earth as a European.
It is.
Like,
it's America on steroids.
Yes.
You know, it's the thing with Las Vegas was so I had never been.
Still?
No, I went. Okay. Like in the middle of writing the book, I was like, I have to go out to like do research.
I'm so glad that
so
you
I went, yeah. But I started without ever having gone, and I was always interested
Good
in.
For you. That's great. Yeah. I'm writing a book now. Like, never mind. Like in Florida, I feel like I should go there more often, but I don't want to.
But you've been at least once.
I have. Yeah, a few times.
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, it'll help probably to go back. But I only went to Vegas once.
Okay.
I just went once to do the research, but. To be honest with you, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas was a big influence. Loved the book and loved the movie. And I like a lot of things that like take place out west, whether it's LA, Las Vegas, just like the desert, and something about how like spread out everything is out west, and the palm trees and like the heat, just all of that. I feel like it can really have, like, you can really be driven mad by the heat, you know, in that desert like climate. So that, and then Las Vegas always also just as like a, anything can go here, you know, it's like a playground, a Disneyland for adults, which is such a weird place for someone to be and living. And
it is such a bizarre place. I don't understand.
Very bizarre. I was fascinated by it, really. It's like a lot of this book was just, I was fascinated about things and I wanted to like learn about them and research. Cool. And I was just like, it was like an excuse, you know, to go out to Las Vegas and like do all the people watching and, you know, go to the Strip and go to the Fremont experience and just like be like, and just watch like how is this a real place?
No, I think it's brilliant that a psychopath or like a study of a psychopath takes place in Las Vegas, which is also, it's not a real place. It's almost like a representation. And that's why Baudrillard comes in handy here. Like, it's a representation of a real thing, but that representation replaced the real thing. And that's why it's so bizarre.
Yeah.
Totally. Like, you know, there's like little, like little France or like, you know, you see, it's just so like ugly, but it's so ugly that it's beautiful. To me. Yeah,
and it's, I don't know, it's so interesting. Like, there's so much, like, you know, like, you could just really go out there and, like, analyze, like, the ecosystem of that place and how it functions, you know? Yeah.
And how did you come up with the idea of that girl? Shit, I'm forgetting her name, the young girl.
Sophia.
Sophia.
Sophia?
Sophia, okay. Yeah, she's like a classic. I love that character so much. This girl is like in pursuit of maybe like her writing career in New York City. Meanwhile, she's a cokehead in Las Vegas, and she is also an escort. Yeah. So how great!
Yeah.
And there's like a few lines. I wrote it down, so it'll be quicker probably.
The name though was Crime and Punishment. That's how I got the name.
Oh, very cool. Oh, this one is good. Oh yeah. Later in the big marble tub, the warm jets massaging our backs, I'm rubbing Sophia's feet while she tells me her dream is to move to New York City and become a novelist, which I find surprising because for some reason I thought she wanted to move to LA to become an actress. She tells me she wants to write something that will have an impact on the world, change somebody's life, make a difference, the way Play It As It Lays did for her. I reach for the glass of wine on the ledge and take a sip. What are your dreams? She asks. This is so great. Yeah. It's just like, you know, I also find, like we were talking about a little bit, like writers to be funny in a way. And like that's, it's perfect.
Thanks.
And I think this book is too, like a little bit about like the pursuit of dreams or like lack thereof.
Yeah. Like
and that's that American dream that goes wrong.
Yeah. And then like, what do you do?
There's, like you've made all the money that you can make. You can get any girl. You can get any drug. Like, what do you do?
Yeah.
Like, there's only one thing to be done.
Yeah. yeah.
Apart from ayahuasca, I suppose.
Which
he
tries somewhat.
Yeah, and Joshua Tree's there too. I thought that was great.
But yeah, Sophia was she was an important character for me. So I did a lot of research on this character that is based on a real guy, and he was seeing an escort at the time. So like I was like, okay, I know there needs to be an escort character, you know. And I wanted her to be a bit of like a moral mouthpiece somewhat for some moments. Also, I had to put a little bit of me in like a character. And I thought she was a fun one to put, like the Play It As It Lays bit, you know.
I love that book so much.
And she's... it's been funny hearing people talk about her. And like some people think she's evil, which I think is like a funny read on that character. And like some people think that she did the main character really dirty, and others are like, I like her.
I didn't have that feeling. I just think she's
very performative. Like,
she's an opportunist.
Yeah.
It's not like she's evil. She doesn't care. Yeah. She just needs to do what she needs to do. Yeah. And, you know, snort some coke while she's at it.
Yeah, it's tough out there, you know. She's doing the best she can.
Yeah, no, amazing. No, and I thought the relationship, like the father-son relationship, is really well rendered, and it's very sad. That part is really sad to me.
Yeah, that part was important for me because that I fictionalized. He didn't have a son in real life, and I wanted to touch upon like father-son generational trauma and like that, all that stuff. And I thought that would be the moment to humanize him, because it's really important to me, as much of a monster as he is, to find some nuance in it and like there needs to be a moment where, not just one, but moments where you're like, oh, okay, this is a person, and you feel for him, and you know you kind of just want to give him a hug, and you're just like, you pity him, you know, you feel bad, and his relationship with the son was important for me I was like, that's where I'm gonna do that. It's like in that area. So yeah, hopefully it comes across there.
Yeah, no, it's really powerful. So tell me a little bit about the publishing process. Was it hard to get it out? Like how long did it take?
Speaking of Vegas.
Oh.
There was an agent that when I like pitched this to, as soon as they found out it was about Vegas, they were like, I don't like Vegas. And they were no longer interested. But
they were interested based on your pitch, and then
they seemed interested. And then as soon as they found out the setting, they were like, "Oh, ew!" They went ew. They said ew. I hate Vegas.
And I was they don't get it then. They don't.
I was like, I'm not asking you to go. You know, you don't need to go there. Like, I'm not a travel agency. Like, you know, it was so bizarre. I was like, okay. So yeah, it was tough. It was really tough, honestly, to find a home for it. It was a lot of rejection. It was like rejection again and again and again. Nobody wanted to touch it. It was too controversial for people. That was what I was getting, the feedback.
Because of the act?
Yeah, because of the act.
Really?
Yeah. People asked, like, oh, we'll publish it if you take that out.
No way.
Yeah, and I was like, that's the whole book.
That's the point.
Like, how can I, like, it made no sense.
What did they suggest you put instead? I'll be curious, like, what would their
I didn't even entertain it. I was like,
I
was like, I don't know. Like, that's not my vision.
Good for you.
And then I found Clash. Shout out to Clash. Like, they were, they're awesome. They're really phenomenal. The best experience I could, have asked for, better than I could have dreamed of. And they put so much love and passion into it, and like really believed in the book. And it was awesome. Yeah, it was really awesome. But it was really tough until I found them. Like, nobody wanted to touch it, and people were like, oh, it could be this controversial if this wasn't your debut. If this wasn't your first book, then maybe it could be. Like Brayson Ellis could put something out like this out there.
But he already has a following. They didn't want to publish Less Than Zero either because it was so like I don't know.
I know, and they tried to cancel American Psycho. They that changed publisher. The initial publisher dropped it. So it's just the publishing world is such a strange, weird world that it's hard to I don't understand it. But I'm just really thankful. To Clash.
I'm so curious. You don't have to answer that, but I'm gonna ask anyway. How many pitches did you send out, and how long, like from the beginning of pitching till, getting the yes?
So too many that I could possibly count or remember, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Like in tens or like hundreds?
Probably hundreds.
Really?
Maybe not hundreds, but I don't know, close to maybe.
Okay. Wow.
Or something like that. I mean, more than 10 or 20. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've sent mine to like 6.
I mean, no, I was querying like every agent that put out something that I liked. Any agent that I was like, oh, you put out a book that I liked, I was querying. I was really trying to just like running up the flagpole, see who salutes kind of thing. And no one was for a year. It took about a year, maybe a bit less. Like
just like pitching, and then for a year.
A year until getting the yes. Yeah, a year of pitching nonstop.
Wow.
I went to the Columbia Agent Mixer, which is like speed dating with agents, which was a horrible experience. Cold emailing, querying, doing all that stuff. Trying to network, trying to just do whatever.
Did networking help?
No, not
really,
right?
Not
at all. No, Clash was just a cold, query. Just I sent them a couple of the first pages. They liked it. I sent them the rest, and
that's amazing.
And then it was really quick. Like I sent it to them, and like a month later, maybe they got back to me. They're like, "We want to publish it." Maybe a month,
fantastic.
A couple weeks, a month, something like that. After a year of rejection, so yeah, that was that was crazy. I was like, oh, okay, I'm not delusional. Because you start to like give up on yourself, or you start to be like, is this dumb? Am I a bad writer? Is this a stupid idea?
That's how I feel.
Am I glamorizing the violence and fetishizing the this subject matter that's so controversial?
Yes, you are, but so what?
Well, I'm trying not to glamorize or fetishize it, but criticize it and like bring it to light and like.
No, I know.
but you know, just like everything that I was hearing, you know, I was like, fuck, am I crazy for trying to do this, especially as a debut novel? Like, maybe I should have done something a little safer, a little, you know. And you start to second guess yourself, you know, and the self doubt, you know, comes in, and you know, you start to second guess all your life, you know, choices and decisions, and it's fucking hard. And then when you get the yes, it's like you're over the moon, you know. It's like being on the best drug in the world, you know.
There's nothing better than success of that caliber. Did you get any work published prior to this? No. Like any short stories? Nothing?
None. Which I know is the traditional route. Thank you.
That's not but no, the same thing with Coco. I mentioned earlier. Nothing. She just got her first book, and then the second one is out now. Yeah. So it's interesting. And so how long did it take you to write it?
So the facetious answer is 28 years. The real answer is probably like between 3 and 5 years. Mm-hmm. You know, depending on where, like, at what point you start, like, do you start counting, you know? From the day that I had the idea, 5 years. I did like 2 years of research, and then it took me about 3 years to write it.
Yeah.
Because I did a lot of research, like a shit ton of research. Because it's based on a real thing. Yeah. And I wanted to get everything that I possibly could, and I read like this 300-page FBI, you know, report on him, on the events. Wow. I went out to Las Vegas, you know, I went to his house, I went to the diner that he, you know, frequented. I went to, like, I tried to interview some people. Like, I was really trying to do, like, you know, I have my Truman Capote in Cold Blood moment, and like really commit to just like beautiful that investigative journalism. And it was a lot that I didn't know. Like, I didn't know Arnold Palmer. So I was reading Arnold Palmer's, you know, autobiography, A Life Well Played. I was, you know, reading a bunch of books about subject matters close to this, you know, like Libra by Don DeLillo, which is like...
I know that book.
Right, yeah.
That's
like,
great.
And very, like, it was important for me to read that to write this. Like, I don't think this book would be what it is without having read that book. And
That's
so, like,
so crazy.
I had, like, such a long list of books I had to read to be in a place where I was like, okay, I'm now ready to, like, write this, you know, the outline, like plotting, you know, I put a bunch of pages all over my wall to like outline, and like I was like, okay, this is where we start, this is going to be the end of the second act, this is how the third act begins, like all that stuff.
Very cool.
That takes, you know, that took like 2 years, and then the writing was easy and fun, and that was like, you know,
but just like
plan it,
structure and structure it really well. That's awesome. Yeah, no, I'm just asking because I'm curious, like, in terms of, am I, like, you know, I feel like maybe I'm a moron, maybe, like, it's taking too long, but I don't think I am.
How long would you say it's been for you?
So the first idea was, like, in 2020, like, March 2020.
Okay, so you're about 4 years.
Yeah, about that. But, you know, I don't write every day. Like, that's the thing. Like, maybe it would have taken a year had I been able to do that, but you can't think that anyway.
No.
But it's funny you said, you mentioned DeLillo, because my the second book that I'm toying with, and I'm just taking notes and doing research, is also, I'm reading Americana by him, which I need to read for this book that I'm writing.
I also read that before this.
That's so cool. Yeah. Wait, I have a question. Can you explain the difference between a psychopath and a sociopath? And would you consider him to be a psychopath, rather, right? Or
I don't know the difference. I think one is born and one is created by society. I forget which is which.
And isn't that
Psycho, I think, is born. You're born a psychopath. Sociopath is like you're formed by society.
But also, like, one of them, I think you take pleasure from inflicting pain.
Which one would that be?
Psychopath.
A
sociopath would be like a pathological liar, and, you know.
Psychopath is like there's no hope for you, whereas sociopath is kind of like maybe you can be saved.
Who would Tony Soprano be? Like,
that's a good question.
I think a psychopath.
Psychopath? Tony Soprano was a big influence.
Yeah?
Yeah. The Soprano episode of Tony Soprano in Las Vegas was a huge influence. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, we share the same taste, I feel like. That's cool. Yeah. I recently rewatched The Wire.
Uh-huh.
That show is so well written.
I'm embarrassed to admit I have never seen The Wire.
It's so well written. It's Shakespearean.
I have to watch it.
It is. It's unbelievable. And the last time I watched it, I was still in college in London, and I remember like binged it. And then this time, like, I'm so much older. I became a writer. Oh my god! I can't. Maybe that's why I wasn't writing for the last like 2-3 weeks, because I was just watching. It's so, I recommend. If you like The Sopranos,
absolutely, no, I have to give it a shot. I tried watching it 10 years ago,
Yeah.
And I watched the first couple episodes. I didn't get into it, and then I just kind of gave up.
That was me too at the beginning.
Now that I'm older, hopefully a little more mature, I have to give it a second shot.
It's really well written. Yeah. But so yeah, cool. What are you working on right now? Are you?
I'm working on something. I'm outlining.
Okay.
I'm in that really, horrible, gruesome experience of like doing the outline.
What does it look like for you outlining?
It's just madness. It's just hopefully there's a method to the madness, but yeah, it's my phone notes, it's notes in like a notebook, it's notes at home, like putting it on a wall. It's just like it's just like any idea that comes to you, just like putting it down, just trying to put things together. I'm really into like structure, and so I like having a structure before I start.
Interesting.
And like I knew how this book was going to end before I even started it.
Really?
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe they won't all be like that, but I liked that process for this one, so I'm trying to do that for this next one. So yeah, it's too like early to talk about this next one because I'm really just at the early stages.
I know what
but I do think it's going to be loosely based or like set in like Little Italy and like noir. That's all I'll say. Like Mulberry Street, noir.
Amazing.
Like that's the vibe that I'm going for.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, obviously, like we talked before this interview, I had an inkling that you're into film noir because it's referenced in this book.
Yeah.
But what else do you do besides writing
what else do
and
do?
reading?
Nothing.
What do you like?
That's all I do.
Do you like, I don't know, play sports or...
I grew up playing soccer.
Nice.
So
you're fucking European and Colombian, of course.
European,
French, Italian, and Colombian, of course you play soccer.
It'd be weird if I didn't play soccer. Yeah. So yeah, soccer. I mean, I love like movies. I try to go to the movies like once a week. I really want to see the Joker. I can't wait for that.
Me too. I love Batman in general. He's my favorite superhero. So anything like related would be cool. It's so perfect, like Gotham.
One of the best like reviews that I've gotten so far of this book was someone said that it was like the Joker, the movie, Todd Phillips' The Joker, if written by Don DeLillo. And I was like, that was so cool.
That's the most beautiful.
That was really, really cool to hear.
Wow.
But yeah, I love the experience of like going to the movies. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm totally blanking on what I saw like 2 weeks ago.
Did you get like candy?
But just popcorn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll sneak in a burger.
I always sneak candy because it's so expensive.
Yeah, no, you can't. You're out like $30 if you go and you buy the candy and the drink and the popcorn, and it's like more expensive than the ticket, And the tickets are already so expensive now.
Oh, can I get M&Ms? Okay, so, $12.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, I wanted to ask you about working because I think it's important to mention, like, every single person I speak to in this interview. By the way, oh my God, you're the first writer I'm talking to.
Cool.
So it's really tough, right? Like to pursue your career because, like, I'm sure, like, first and foremost, you think of yourself as a writer, and then you also have to make a living. So, like, how do you? Yeah, I know. Like, how does that work for you? Like, seriously, because it's so
I don't know.
Hard.
No, I mean it's it's tough. It's really tough. There's this Bukowski poem that I have in my apartment that I just like will read sometimes in the morning when I need to like remember why I'm getting out of bed. And in it he says that like it's So You Want to Be a Writer is the name of the poem. And he talks about like if you want it for money or fame or women in your bed or all these things, like don't do it, and he keeps repeating like don't do it. If you're doing it for blah blah blah, like don't do it, if not doing it would drive you to like madness or suicide or murder, like don't do it, like. And it's kind of like this strangely like pessimistic poem, but it is strangely very inspiring. And I read that sometimes to just remind myself like I'm not doing this for the money, even though that'd be awesome. It'd be really cool to like sell the movie rights to the book,
Yeah, this is so cinematic. They definitely should, because I don't think there's any movies about that person.
No, there's not. There hasn't been anything about this person yet because it was really just swept under the rug.
That's perfect. So
yeah, of course. I mean, that'd be awesome. If it, then I can just live off of that money and actually do nothing but write. That would be the dream. But I think you can't, I don't know, you can't go into it like hoping that that'll happen, you know, because you're going into it with the wrong reasons. Like it's very naive to think that writing is a lucrative field. It's not, you know.
It's not. Even if you are very successful, like, let's say you win an award and stuff like that, that doesn't mean you're going to make money.
Yeah, no.
There's writers who are maybe not very literary and they make good money from their books, and to have books I would never be excited by. And then there is people who are, like a friend of mine who did her MFA at NYU, and she won like one of the most prestigious awards for writing, and she's not making money. I forget which award, like you would know, but of course I forgot.
It just goes to show like another aspect where the world kind of fails, you know. It doesn't sort of reward like artists very much, you know.
Never.
Unless you really make it, you know, unless you're like, you know, an athlete, you know, or like an actor, or like,
but even an athlete, like I've always been, I guess, like drawn to activities that don't bring much money. Like I was when you run track, or like you go to the there's Olympians that we're talking like a winner of like sprint or whatever, like track and field. I'm thinking, like they still work,
and they still need a day job. Yeah, they still need a day job.
What the fuck? You're in the Olympics, so
you're like the best of your field.
You have to be like a football player, or a basketball player.
Hopefully one day that'll switch up, and writers will be making a livable wage that's like you can actually live off of your writing. You know, I know a couple people who do, and I'm very envious of them.
Me too. I try not to be jealous and be like happy for them, but there's definitely like that little feeling like, I'm a tiny bit jealous. Like I don't like to be. I feel like it's awesome that like people like you succeed, because it shows me that it's possible for me as well. I'm not hating on like at all, but when I hear about people who actually like got really huge book deals, I'm like,
no, it
would be nice. That's all.
Yeah, it would be nice. And like maybe one day, you know, maybe one day, and if not, whatever, you know.
Yeah, we still have to do it. What's your process like? So if you're working like every day, 5 days a week, like when do you write? Morning, evening?
Usually
weekend? Mornings before work.
Mornings, yeah.
How much do you write every day?
Well, right now it's a bit different because I was doing like pre-book release things and then book release things, and like it just came out, so like I was doing a lot of like celebrating and stuff. So I've been bad in terms of being consistent in carving out time to write, but usually, ideally, like a couple hours in the morning, like 3 hours.
Wow.
I think is like a.
That's good.
A great, whether it's the morning or the afternoon, the weekend, but, it's hard to write 5 days a week, and like I'm constantly writing on my phone.
Me too.
Like every time I'm on the subway, anytime I'm waiting for an elevator, like anytime I have free time, I'm just like phone, boom, 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 and I write. So
that's great.
It's just like, trying to just like find any moment to be like, okay, I'm gonna, but if I sit down for 3 hours, like, even 3 times a week, I'm happy. Like that's a good week.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Evenings are harder for me. I usually just take notes in the evenings, like on my phone. But mornings are best for me too. Like in terms of how my mind works, I'm still fresh. And just get.
And it goes through it goes through moments. Like there will be there were some passages in here that like I needed some liquid courage to write those scenes, so like I would write them at night. Yeah, I wrote them at night.
Did you ever smoke weed?
I haven't in a very long time.
So that you don't think that would help open certain like creative?
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
I used to when I like was writing as a teenager. I definitely that was the I would smoke and then like write. But I don't know. I've been
like
trying
with
to
courage.
Yeah, I've been trying to just like.
Okay, Bukowski.
There's a scene that like I just couldn't get. I just could not get, and then I downed like a bottle of Sauvignon Blanc, and I was like, oh, here it's this, and the scene just like comes very cool. Flowing out. So, but that's like one scene in the entire book. So like that's just that's I don't think that's you can't be consistent with that. You turn into an alcoholic, and like I think that's a myth. I don't think you need to be an alcoholic to be a good writer. I think that's bullshit.
I think so too. What would you do if you weren't a writer?
Haberdasher.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I don't know. Probably something in the arts, like maybe a painter. I'm not a good painter, but like
Maybe an art critic.
Maybe.
That's still in the arts, I guess.
Yeah.
But sometimes I feel like art critics are those artists who didn't make it.
Yeah, right? I know.
But that might be wrong. Some people are just like interested in...
No, I just feel like if I'm not doing something creative, I like I get very restless and I like don't like myself. So something creative, you know.
I'm the same way.
Maybe an art historian. I really like art history.
Oh, lovely. So the celebration has been good. Like, have you been going to a lot of readings?
It's been great. Yeah, I have one on Sunday. You should come if you have nothing better to do. Brooklyn.
Where?
It's part of the...
Is that the place that we couldn't find, remember?
No, that wasn't. Yeah.
That would turn into the greatest, one of those greatest New York City nights. But anyway, we just totally missed it because we passed by. I don't know why. Anyway, so...
This one I will screenshot the like address on a Google Map thing so you know where it is. Don't miss it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool.
So yeah, I was doing a lot like right when the book came out. I was doing like multiple every week. I burnt out a little bit. It definitely is, it gets
tired. Must be right, like 2 a week or something.
Yeah, I was doing like 3 a week.
Oh wow.
For a couple weeks, for maybe a couple months.
That's a lot.
But I also don't like being on a stage. I don't like being in front of an audience. Like reading it to a public was like a very strange and weird experience.
It's weird. I know what you
mean. I want somebody else to read it. Like I'm proud of the words I wrote. I just don't want to be up there reading it. You know, like I wish I could have like someone else read it for me.
Yeah. I feel that. I also have an accent, so I'm like really shy about it and like very self-conscious when I read. You know,
I have no reason to be.
It's still like I don't like reading my own stuff specifically.
No, it's a very strange thing. You know, like especially like if you're trying to be a writer, you're signing up for being in behind a screen, whether it's a laptop or typewriter or blank page, like. You're not signing up for being in front of you're not trying to be an actor, or you're not going into theater. Like you're not.
That's a great
You're
point.
not thinking about, I'm then gonna have to be in front of like a bunch of people, And so, trying to like turn off your like introverted, shy self and become like on and social and like kind of perform. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily come natural, I think, to writers.
Yeah, unless they happen to be also performance.
Yeah.
Artists or something. Yeah, I'm with it. Well, thank you so much. Everybody should buy this book. It's fire.
I like short books. Yeah, that's why I like The Stranger.
Exactly.
I like short books.
So great.
That was the thing too. I was like, I want to write a short book because I like short books, and I want to like give people what I like.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they say. You should write a book that you would like to read.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. That's what I try to do.
You shouldn't think of the audience per se, but yeah, this is great. Thank you so much for
coming.
Thank
you so much for having me.
Yeah.